everyone, this is Jennifer Janacek, Director of Content Strategy with Sound Wisdom, and we're here today with Steve Miller, a marketing gunslinger and Kelly's dad, and author of the new book, Stealing Genius, The 7 Levels of Adaptive Innovation. Oh yeah, we got a sticker on that copy. That one's sharp. A fabulous new book, and we're so excited to talk with you about it today, Steve. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jen. Great to see you, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right in. I bet everybody listening and watching are wanting to know, what is stealing genius? What does that mean?
Well, that's a boy, right out of the box. You just want to know what the book is all about.
Yes.
So, stealing genius is a term that I coined a number of years ago to help companies and people to be innovative and creative thinkers, come up with new ideas. It's not a new concept. The basis of this is not a new concept. It's been around for thousands of years, literally. But what it really is based on is that and let's think in terms of, like I say, a business. That a lot of times when a business sits down, the people sit down and they go, "Oh, we need to do some creative thinking. Let's do some brainstorming or something like that." And they got a flip chart on the wall or something, and then they all go, "So we need to come up with a new idea for, let's say, a marketing campaign." And really, what they end up doing is, for the most part, is they end up saying, "Well, that ABC company, a competitor of theirs, is doing this. We could do something like that." And maybe even do it a little bit better. And so what we end up doing is just kind of copying the competition. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're doing the same thing. And the idea is that innovation has nothing to do with copying people or anything that are around you, that are in your world, that might be common ideas and common thinking in your world. It's when you only get really, really new ideas when you go way outside of your field, your industry, your geographical location, or anything like that, and you start to look for what other people are doing, people that I call aliens, because they're alien to your industry, and you go out there and you look at what are they doing that nobody in my world is doing, and you look for really, really great ideas. So I call them geniuses. And then you go steal from them. So, like, for example, if you're in the if you're in the B2B world, the B2B marketplace, well, you might go out and study some consumer product company. You might study a Disneyland or Mary Kay Ash, or study, even Apple Computer. I mean, the ones that we already know about. But what they are doing is very uncommon in the B2B world. So again, you go steal genius, you bring it back here, and guess what? And it's brand new back here. And then you can use those ideas to help separate yourself from the competition.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to circle back to something you said about, it's not looking at the competition and trying to be better than them. It's not about one-upping the competition. And I think this gets into your distinction that you draw in the book between improvement and innovation. Can you talk to us a little bit about how improvement and innovation differ, and why it's important to innovate instead of just improve?
Well, the essence of improvement is that you're taking something that already exists and you're making it better. Okay. Now, of course, we're always trying to do that with our own products, our own services, things like that. Obviously, we want to do that. But the last thing we want to do is look at our competition and say, "Oh, okay, we can do what they're doing, but we can do it better." That's improvement. And improvement is always copyable. And one of the things that I say all the time is, if it can be copied and somebody wants to copy it, it will be copied. Okay. So in order for us to truly separate ourselves, we need to be able to do things that are innovative. Now, innovation is something new, totally new, not an improvement. It's a completely new, unseen before activity or feature or something that you're bringing to the table that nobody else has ever seen before. And if you do it right, you can also make it something to where it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, for your competition to copy you. So that's the difference between improvement and innovation.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm actually reading a book on novelty. It's sort of the philosophy of newness, of novelty. And the author makes an interesting point, or brings something that I didn't know up, which is that to innovate, the Latin root actually means to renew or reframe. It doesn't have anything to do about creating something that's entirely new per se, but reframing it, like bringing something into a different context, like what you're talking about, stealing genius, creating something new in your field, by pairing it with something from a different industry,
a different area. That's
right.
that's the main thing about because innovate any kind of innovation is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's a light bulb that comes off easily, in your head. And so, being able to take something from somewhere else that does not currently exist in your world, and then, like you say, okay, now you might reframe it, but you frame it in something that makes sense to your marketplace.
Absolutely. I mean, that just gives us such a concrete way to approach innovation. Like, we don't have to sit around waiting for some light bulb moment, sitting around with the flip chart thinking, okay, well, what completely new, idea? We're just waiting for some genius here, waiting for some light bulb to click. Instead, we can have actual concrete strategies, which you give in the book for taking us through these steps and saying, okay, well, we can innovate by taking these steps, going to study study aliens and see what we can learn from them, studying mentors, etc. So I just want to emphasize and underscore how there are such actionable strategies to innovation. It doesn't have to be some mystical
that's because that's really hard. That's really, really hard to do, and that's why I've taken the concept, and the concept, like I say, has been around for a very long time, but I've kind of fine tuned it to show people the practical steps that you can take to get there. I mean, I call it the 7 levels of adaptive innovation, and to just share one, for example, like the very, very first one is, like, let's say you ask the question. You want to ask a very specific question that you're looking for an answer to. So like, let's say you're a trade show, and you're a trade show, and you're saying, you know what, really, our main objective is that we have all these exhibitors at the trade show. We get all these people who come into the front door of the trade show. Well, what we really want to try to do is we want to try to get all these visitors to go up and down all the aisles so that all of our exhibitors are exposed to these people. How do we do that? How do we make that work? Well, you can't go study other trade shows because nobody else is doing anything, right? So what you do is you go outside your world and you ask yourself, okay, who has a similar situation where they're trying to manage a traffic situation and move people around as efficiently as possible? And so you might come up, in this case, let's say you come up with, say, 3 ideas, three different places. One might be Las Vegas, the casinos in Las Vegas. If you think about it, there are no rows, there are no aisles in the casinos in Las Vegas. They make you, serpentine your way around the place. So that's one place to look at. Another is like at say Disney World or Disneyland. One of the things that they do is they have, they have the castle. It's at the center, and everything is a hub and spoke system right off the castle, and that's how they get people to go back to the castle and then walk out from there. But probably the most common one that most people don't even realize, don't really think about, is in a supermarket. And then in the supermarket, the milk is in the back of the store.
Always.
Because everybody goes for milk, right? Well, if you think about it and reframe that now from a trade show perspective, at the vast majority of trade shows, the most important exhibitors, the biggest exhibitors in the show are almost always put up at the front door. Okay, that's like putting the milk at the front door. See, and so, like, when I have worked with organizations that have trade shows, I keep saying, hey, if you really want to impact traffic, then you put the milk in the back. Okay, and when we've done that, it's been amazing to see how the traffic flow changes around the entire show because they've taken the milk and they put it in the back of the hall. So that's a good example of one of the levels.
Yeah, that's a great example. And if you read the book, you'll learn how Steve helped, trade show exhibitors redesign their space to, take some of these.
We actually used the Disneyland example, and I go into detail about how we did that, which was pretty crazy. It was a lot of fun, and it worked out just amazingly.
It's a great story. Do you have any other favorite examples of stealing genius that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think that, I think my all-time favorite stealing genius story is the caterpillar story. That
Oh, yes.
the idea that you take, the caterpillar was looking for a way to enhance or change the way that the ultimately the end user, the drivers, the operators of their equipment would see they would have a different experience with Caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
And so without going into a long explanation, ultimately what we did was we ended up studying the American Girl store
No.
in Chicago. And just to think about going to the American Girl store when you are a construction equipment manufacturer, it took a little mind shift on their
Yeah.
part to think, really, are we really going to get any good ideas out of this? And in fact, the American Girl store is an amazing laboratory for marketers and people and branders and experience builders and things like that. And we were able to go and get some really, really great ideas that they took back and used. And in the American Girl store, it's a doll store.
Mm-hmm.
It's a doll store. And just to give you a sense of how amazing the experience is, when my daughter Kelly was 10 years old, I asked her where she wanted what she wanted to do for her birthday, and she said, "I want to go to Chicago and go see the American Girl store." So I took some miles and points, and we went there, and we went to this one store, and if I remember correctly, we spent somewhere well over 5 hours in this one store. It was a doll store, but the experience that they developed for you when you were in that store was absolutely incredible. They had dolls that they got their hair done. They got I think they have tattoo parlors now in there. So I don't know, but
yeah. My daughter is dying to go to the American Girl doll store in Chicago. She's got that on her list. So
save your money.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well, I think, it's one of the principles that stood out to me. We have sort of two directions here. We have to target our moose and get really specific, find, our target audience and really understand them. But at the same time, you mentioned the idea of despecialization, like stepping back. Like sometimes we're so driven to specialize that we can miss out on all of the ideas that are around us. So,
yeah, we have to kind of take our specialization hats off when we want to think creatively. It's having new eyes. It's being able to go out and see things and asking yourself, how do we use this, right? Something that happens every day. One example I used was Edward de Mestral, in Germany, walking through the forest, walking his dog, like so many people do, walk in the forest, and we come back and then we pick those burrs out of our socks that inevitably we get in there. Well, back then, he, being a scientist, he looked at these and he said, wow, what other idea can I take from this? And the answer was Velcro.
So incredible.
And he created a company called Velcro, and ultimately, NASA used it, and it's ubiquitous around the world now. But that was because he had his radar up. He was he did not close his mind to seeing things that he might not have seen otherwise.
Yeah, I love that story. That was really eye-opening. I had no idea that Velcro, came out of that sort of idea. And, just to encourage readers and viewers, I mean, you're going to learn to retrain your eyes, to retrain your mind, have that mindset shift in this book. So where do you suggest that someone start? Somebody who's looking to start stealing genius, what might be some initial steps or place to start?
Well, kind of go back to when I said that the first thing to do is to ask yourself, okay, what would I like to do better? And if it's, let's say, marketing, because that everybody's got to do marketing, right? So I would say that you go to malls, go to stores like Starbucks, or if there's an American Girl store around you, go there, and the Apple stores. Delphi I had Delphi Automotive stole the Apple Store genius concept and used it themselves in the automotive world. So and you go there and you just simply ask yourself, what are they doing? What are they doing? And how else can that be used, or how else can I use that?
Mhm.
So see, like that, for example, that uh, you know um, Delphi Automotive, we go in and they take a look at the Apple store and say, what are they doing? Well, they have these Genius bars, and they got these Genius people walking all around. And so um, at an event that they had, they decided, okay, that's what we'll do. But instead of just making it to where they have engineers and technicians and people like that standing around, they really adapted the Apple approach by saying, all right, we're going to call them professors, and we're going to use them, and that's what we're going to do. And you make an appointment with them, and that type of stuff. So you ask yourself the question, what is it that you want to do, and then go see if you can find somebody else. We have, my smoking hot wife, Kay, who is, also an author. We have a very, very favorite restaurant in Seattle called the 5 Point Cafe. It is
Mhm.
the number one dive bar in Seattle. Okay. But they are such a great example of focusing on a target market, using language in their the type of language they use in their communications. You
Mhm.
talk about language, for example. Do you make up your own words, for your industry, for your marketplace, for your customers? We none of us knew how to order coffee until Starbucks came along.
Yeah,
They taught us a whole new language about
great.
ordering coffee. So what can you do to create new concepts by just going out and observing what's around you already?
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for all these ideas and for sharing with us about your book, Stealing Genius, which you haven't picked up a copy already, you should definitely pick up a copy of Stealing Genius, The 7 Levels of Adaptive Innovation. A really enjoyable and enlightening read. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jen. Always great talking to you.
Yes, absolutely.